We're going to be ranking every single RLCS World Championship from season 1 all the way till 2024. So this is the tier list. This is how we're going to be ranking it. Okay, so we have Hall of Fame. There shouldn't be too many in this. This is like absolutely legendary LAN, lots of memorable moments. Hall of Fame, self-explanatory. Then we have the next tier of memorable. So this is like, okay, if we have some memorable moments, enough of them, and I think it's going to earn the LAN a spot in memorable. Mid isn't necessarily bad. It just means maybe there wasn't a lot that was going on. It wasn't anything too crazy. And obviously snooze fest, boring LAN. You could have skipped it and watched over it and not really cared. So first off, starting with where it all started, RLCS season 1. We only had North American and Europe teams. Fun fact about this, if you think of an RLCS LAN nowadays, you look at the most recent World Championship, you'll think of an arena like this. Obviously, they hold basketball games, they hold some large concerts, and they have a capacity of 14,000. You know, makes sense for a recent Rocket League LAN. Like, how big do you think RLCS season 1 was in comparison? Well, if we take a look at it, we'll see that it was actually held at a nightclub in LA. Some of you will remember this, but I remember this, and I remember hearing that, like, obviously they're playing the tournament all throughout the day, and they literally had to, like, rush out and pack up all the PCs so that the nightclub could literally open up that night. But going from 1,000 capacity, basically, into 14,000 capacity shows where we've been able to come. Obviously, with that, we're starting with iBuyPower with Kronovi, the poster child of Rocket League, and Overzero, who scored this goal, which, to be fair, this goal at the time, this would be like the season 1 version of like squishy ceiling shot. Like, this was a pretty big deal. I mean, I feel like people were doing air dribbles, but like it wasn't happening a lot. People weren't super mechanical. But for this to also be an upset against Flipside, and keep in mind, Overzero was literally their substitute player. That was a big one. I remember that moment. Seeing what RLCS season 1 has to offer, it's not much. It's really not much. But this at the time was just crazy. To be able to kind of fly up at all, as we can see Luchino missing the ball completely, but that was enough to get you in the RLCS pretty much back then. Yeah, the crazy part about this matchup though, everybody knows Kronovi is like the poster child of Rocket League, especially if you're talking like early days of Rocket League. But despite this, iBuyPower Cosmic was the underdog by all means. Flipside not only dominated every early season tournament, even before RLCS existed, but iBuyPower Cosmic was the 3rd seed from NA. And like I said, they were playing with their substitute player. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say Cookster was the real best player in the world. He obviously got overlooked a lot. I don't think he streamed as much or had as big of a following. Yeah, if you know, and if you're around back then, you know Cookster was an absolute beast. I think the grand finals also plays a pretty big part in like where a lot of these LANs should be ranked. And I think having a big upset here and the fact that it was just like, it just felt destined that Kronovi, the poster child of Rocket League, would win the first World Championships. Dude, even just that in and of itself, I mean, I think it deserves to be somewhat high on the ranking. I can't put it Hall of Fame. You know, I have to keep that very exclusive. It's hard to call that LAN mid just because it was literally like the first LAN. It just like meant a lot. I think we have to give season 1 at least memorable. I think it's a memorable LAN. It set the foundation. Honestly, it went well. I remember watching live. It definitely went well. All right, on to season 2, where we finally do actually have an after movie. So hopefully this actually pulls up some memories for me, because that's gonna play a big part of it. I did watch like all of these LANs, and so even just being able to remember certain things makes it memorable, obviously. Still NA and EU, I'm pretty sure. No OC teams introduced quite yet. This was Precision Z, K-Dop's first ever team. Even K-Dop was like so ahead of the time when it comes to like actually passing plays and stuff like that. I actually remember this series. This series was a really big deal. And it was like the start of Garrett G's super unlucky RLCS LANs. I don't remember if they were favored, but they literally went up to series 2-0. They actually ended up getting reverse swept here. And not only were they about to get reverse swept, but game 5, they're about to shut down the reverse sweep. They were 2-1 up, as we can see, with 3 seconds left. I remember this. And despite this, it did not go well for Orbit. It was tough. 0 seconds on the clock, and Violent Panda ties it up. And if I remember correctly, Maka literally went on, I think, as top 2. I think they lost to Flipside in the finals. That was a pretty big moment. I will say that was a pretty big one. So far, that was it though. That was really the only big moment that I can remember. Okay, so even then, Flipside were the favorites for season 2, because they were also the favorites for season 1. 7-minute OT. At the time, that might have been like the record for the longest OT, because like I said, there weren't that many to go off of. Yeah, and like a 4-1, it looks to be a 4-1 final, right? Yeah, even here, Cookster just absolutely took over. Yeah, I don't think this one had a lot, like, had a whole ton of, like, storylines and crazy stuff to bring. You have to realize this was also, like, really early days of Rocket League. You know, you have to build that sort of stuff up over time and over the years. I will say, they forgot to put one moment in this for NRG. This is NRG before Garrett G, so you know it's super old. But, dude, Sad Jr. and Jacob literally hit a passing play. You can look at this goal, and this goal would hold up in 2024. People would be like, oh, damn, like, that was a good goal. From season 2, keep in mind, 2016. This is the end of 2016. They definitely should have added that. But even with that, I think with the grand finals just being a sweep, an obvious flip side win, not too many crazy storylines. I think I'm gonna be nice and not say it was a snooze fest because there was a little bit of stuff to it. But I'm definitely not putting it memorable. I think we'll give season 2 mid. Let's see what happened in season 3. This was like the era of like Devo. Devo was like the first RLCS player to be consistently hitting double taps. I remember OCE, they literally named the double tap after Devo. Okay, I already remember this one. This is tough. As a Canadian, this one was tough because team like Denial was basically Team Canada. Other than Gibbs, I mean, nobody actually has an OCE region winning. They're a minor region. They didn't have the same level of competition. Keep in mind, I think it was still NA 4th seed, maybe 3rd seed. So it makes sense, but for OCE to upset NA in the first ever showing for them was crazy. Another cool storyline was this Rogue Squad with Matt. This is where like the whole Sizz all day baby thing came from. Yeah, and they actually had a pretty deep run. They beat the leftovers there with Pharah, which is crazy. Pharah playing still. This was the biggest throw from Selfless. I remember watching this live too. Selfless had this series in the absolute bag, one of the biggest upsets if they beat Flipside, and they just absolutely threw. Like 0 seconds left, they threw. Not to mention, I'm pretty sure they threw other games in that series as well. And then Cookster with the double tap doing Cookster things at the time. Wins the series for him. Yeah, that was tough. Yeah, I think if Flipside ended up winning this LAN, it would make it a lot less memorable. Energy sweeps Northern Gaming, so it was also a lower bracket run. Oh my god, everyone remembers this. Okay, this at the time, another one where like, unlike the Energy goal, the passing play that did hold up for the time, at this moment, this was like the best fake in RLCS history. This was Garrett faking out, what, 2 players? If you're around, this is one of the goals you literally remember, and this was in a bunch of montages. Like I said, that does not look great for today's standards, unlike the other Energy goal. That has to get factored in. Dude, the game in general just looks so different. Yeah, I remember these guys making it this far was actually a pretty big deal. Like, nobody really had that happening. Overall, there's just a lot of things that happen at this LAN. And like I said, the grand finals plays a huge factor, and it was a big grand finals. Wait, Flipside did terrible. Yeah, so both Rogue and the leftovers made crazy underdog runs. Damn, dude, OG Rocket League, you can't beat it, man. Like, this was the best. Okay, there's a lot of moments that happened here. Obviously, Turbopolsa getting his first ever world championship, but that was bigger by the fact that he was a substitute player, and what I didn't realize is this was 4th seed from Europe that won. On top of that, which is like the big moment that happened, right, the big grand finals, the leftovers had a pretty big upset, and they were this pickup team that apparently weren't even supposed to make it. We had Rogue, this NA Wonder team that had a lot of hype behind them. Even they made a pretty good run. On top of that, the Alpha Sydney upset on the NA team. Yeah, it's definitely above season 2. I think it's top of memorable. I think it's memorable, but it's definitely above. I put it above season 1 even because there's just more that happened. All right, on to season 4 now. Back when Magnus and Metsonoris were still on top with Method. Oh, I remember what happened in this LAN with Energy. I feel like the season changed the trajectory for Modern Play. Oh, 100%. I mean, Squishy like played a huge part in that, even just on his own. So when C9 was on top, like they're the ones that really like pushed on even like the whole passing plays and stuff and positioning for that. They're so incredibly talented with infield passing. And then when they started to fall off was when people started to adapt. But they were so ahead. It's too bad this isn't the one that C9 won. And here it is. And the ceiling shot. Yeah, it's tough to rank this one because there was that moment. You have to remember the C9 Squishy ceiling shot happened in season 4. But the problem is they lost the series. If they won it, I think it'd be a different story. And then Method also lost, so this is just the Gale Force dynasty here. This was sort of the beginning of it. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna have a hot take on this one. Obviously, the biggest moment was having the C9 Squishy ceiling shot. Okay, so that already puts it above. People might say it's Hall of Fame for that reason alone. I don't know if I agree, though. I'm not being a hater, but we have to think, okay? Gale Force, Europe #1, pretty underwhelming grand final, 4-0 sweep. I think it would be guaranteed Hall of Fame if C9 had won this LAN. Maybe even if they like had a good grand final here. I don't know, because you have to think, aside from the ceiling shot, there wasn't a whole lot going on. I will put it top of memorable. All right, on to season 5. Oh, this was the crazy Devo goal. Yeah, Devo even still was nuts here. Dude, this G2 roster still had Chronovi. Also, Pashy on Vitality. Dude, this is a weird Vitality roster. Yeah, when you think even K-Dop, you definitely just think Vitality. And then when you think Pashy, I feel like you think of Mocket. Dude, I forgot about a lot, man. This guy's redirects. Some goals that would even still hold up now. Like, there are some. And a lot was scoring a few of those. Oh, I just remembered. Oh, that's another, yeah, the Garrett G ceiling shot. Another nasty play. All right, I think I just clicked what LAN this is. Even like the difference between this and like 2 seasons ago is crazy. Like, look at this. Like, you can just tell like some of these mechanics were just revolutionized. And here it is. Air for the shot. This is Rocket League. But then this moment, unlucky. Dude, this could have been like one of the greatest esports lands of all time if NRG just won this game. Okay, obviously this is when now Dig. Turbo Pulse a 3-time world champion now. K-Dop 2-time. Violent Panda 2-time. Okay, this can definitely be interchanged. Some people are gonna say the same for season 4, but I think given the 0-second goal and multiple world champions and just how good this team was, that's a Hall of Fame for me. RLCS season 6. If you know, you know. I'm gonna be so biased. Like, I feel like my rankings would be so different if I was like from EU. The ones that NA did well in are gonna be higher ranked. Rizzo, JKnaps, Kronovi still. Damn, I forgot how long that roster existed. Like, I always thought like Kronovi was on there for a really short amount of time. It was just Rizzo and JKnaps that teamed for like way longer after the fact. It's actually crazy. NRG C9 was a lower bracket game. I wonder where a lot of like some of these Rocket League players are at now. I know Classics, speaking of Classics, he was like a pro poker player now. I wonder what happened to a lot of the other guys. They're farming collegiate Rocket League. Keep in mind, this Dignitas roster, this Dignitas/Gelforce roster was winning virtually everything. It would be absolutely insane to upset and beat them here. They had to do it twice. This was a double elimination bracket reset run. Like, nobody could beat this Dig team. Nobody. Except absolute peak prime squishy muffins. So they won 4-1 in the first one, and then they had to win it again. And they easily could have got shut down. Lots of time for Dig to adjust, and then Dig to end up winning, and that had just been a Dig win anyways. The turbo desk slam. Yeah, this was one of the biggest moments for Rocket League. All right, so before we cover, you know, the biggest detail of this tournament, we have to talk about the NRG upset. This is Rocket League. Just happened. World Championships right before this one, okay? NRG second place, 1 goal away from being the world champions. And Garrett G's already had a couple rough lands. He not only got reverse swept on Orbit, he then got upset, eliminated by the Chiefs. And then NRG plays the Chiefs again because they're NA1 seed. They hadn't played any games yet. This is their first game. They lose upset to the Chiefs again, 3-2, which obviously knocks them down to the lowers. And then the fact that the C9 run happened means C9 had to be NRG. So NRG literally went out 7-8 without a single win because the only reason they weren't dead last was because of their seed. They didn't even have to play in this round. So that's the first thing. Like, I remember, like, when I think of a lot of these lands, I'm thinking like the early days of NRG, like how many upsets there were. Like, those are pretty memorable moments. But yeah, so for that to happen, it all is crazy. So C9 plays Weedham Girls. Weedham Girls was a great team. Obviously a close game, 3-2. If there was gonna be a team to maybe beat Dig, I feel like it would have to be a team like this. That's what people were thinking anyway. Like, people didn't really have Dig losing, maybe to NRG. So they lose 3-2 to Weedham Girls. Then they beat NRG in a game 5. They beat Flipside in a game 5. I mean, Chiefs, good on them to even make it this far, but okay, the Chiefs win was big. They get the revenge on Weedham Girls 4-2 to get into the grand final. And like I said, beating Dignitas would be insane in and of itself, and they did so 4-1. But for them to go bracket reset and beat them again, like at the time, at this moment, this was the greatest team in all of Rocket League esports, this Dignitas roster. So for them to do that, we're adding our second Hall of Fame to the list, Season 6, 100%, and that's going first. Let's go into RLCS Season 7 World Championships. Triple Trouble. Bro, the lore with that Triple Trouble team goes crazy. It's too much to cover, but they had so much beef, so much drama. Oh, this is crazy. This is when like this was when Kronovi finally got kicked off G2, and then it was like, okay, like he's done. But then he ends up teaming with AJ and Wonder and on Rogue, and that team actually ends up going pretty crazy. I think they do some of the best out of NA. Yeah, I hate to say it, I remember my ranking. Like, I remember how I felt when I watched the LAN. I can remember like in comparison to other things that happened. This was the 0-second goal that happened. G2 was actually up in the first game of the World Championships, and then Scrub Kill almost misses, by the way, but he doesn't miss, and it becomes one of the best 0-second goals at the time. And then they end up winning the first game, and then they end up winning the whole thing. And then Rizzo sad. I remember it was an extremely underwhelming grand final. I mean, it's maybe if it weren't for that first game from G2, it would have been different. But first, let's look to see if there was anything big that happened aside from that. I don't think there really was. I think everything was kind of expected, right? Like, Vitality beat NRG, it kind of made sense. C9 beat Barcelona, made sense. And like I said, 4-0s, both semifinals, and then just a stomp in the grand final. From what I remember of Season 7, it was pretty uneventful, pretty mid. Actually, pretty worse than mid. I think it was a pretty boring land altogether. I would have rather watched like Season 2. Yeah, Season 7... I think it's a snooze fest. Just not the best land. We've had a lot of better ones. On to the legendary Season 8 Dude, okay, so this Dignitas team, obviously C9, big one that was really good with the infield passing, super team coordinated, like team effort sort of gameplay. But Dignitas, like they just took it to a whole nother level. And I remember even just for them to get to this land, like they had to make a crazy run just to qualify for this Worlds. Dude, this is such a good land. Like even aside from the moments I remember happening, like there's so many like small moments that I'm like seeing. Like even this one, like goals that like I just remember being super like a super big deal. Yeah, low key went pretty hard. No, this was the Tander masterclass, probably. Yeah, see, Tander went crazy. Which still, even like, obviously we're getting into later seasons now, but like mechanical like double taps like that were still super impressive. Especially for like the new South America region to be doing that. Oh my God, Farah's pre-coaching. Farah was a coach before he was a coach. Wait, that clip actually aged well. Oh no, this, okay. So, this not only had one of the best moments of Rocket League history, but it also had the absolute worst. This was one of the best series of all of Rocket League. Like a bunch of long overtimes, a bunch of back and forth games. Like Dig easily could have been in the grand final against Energy. This was literally like one of the best lands. Yeah, game 7. Energy, they get a chance to fix what they did last time. And just like last time, they went to game 7. And just like last time, they went to game 7 overtime. Energy's up, like, at this point, like, they're about to be world champions. It's about to happen. 40 seconds left. Demo. Controlled. Pass. And he gets the 50. It just goes in. What's crazy, too, is I remember watching the final goal and thinking, like, oh, Fairy Peak controlled the ball. Vitality just won the game. Like, I can't believe it ended up being a play out to a pass. Imagine he scored at 0 seconds again. Could you imagine? But yeah, Energy, they go game 7 overtime. Again, this time they got Turbo instead of Fireburner, though. Right here, I remember thinking, oh, we controlled the ball. That's going to be a Vitality goal. Nope. Watching this live, like, dude, there's no words to explain this. And this one meant even more by the fact that they didn't win it after the 0 second goal. But yeah, I mean, this moment alone, like, after all Garrett G went through, he made the tweet, like, everybody else in his position could have retired. And a lot of people were retiring that played with them. There was just a lot that happened here, like really good matchups. There was not only that moment, which was one of the best moments, but there was also one of the worst moments ever with that Veloce Renegade series. When you think memorable moments, I mean, on both sides of the spectrum, you had good moments, bad moments, memorable. Also, one of the best RLCS series of all time, the Dignitas Vitality series right before it too. Yeah, I mean, it's just an easy Hall of Fame. It's going to the top for me. I mean, like when you talk storylines like this, that is the ultimate storyline. Let's go RLCS 2021 to 2022. All right, Beast Mode is here. Yeah, this was a pretty big land too, because you have to think, like, we'd had a land in like 2 years. There was season 9 that was canceled, and then obviously season X. And SSA is here. And APAC is here. Yeah, now we're just seeing, this is like just consistently crazy, nasty goals. We've come a long way from the clip of season 1. Yeah, this is CJ. CJ retired after losing to NRG. But then beating Semper was actually like a pretty big upset. Like that was a pretty big deal, which is cool because it was like the last time we'd see NRG, you know, do well. And I think that whole NRG roster play together. Yeah, this series was like this hard carried this land. If this clip doesn't do it justice, I'm pulling it up. Nah, it doesn't have the timer. Oh, it does. It does. Boom. Game 7, 2 seconds left in the craziest matchup. Furia wins. Yeah, I remember this felt so good for G2 to be able to play BDS. And like everyone was kind of just like hoping, just hoping they'd be able to take BDS out, but like it wasn't even close. And it's crazy because this BDS roster, the last tournament they played was the Spring Major. They went 0-6. They lost 0-3 to Team Secret, a SAM team. They lost 0-3 to Pioneers, an OCE team. Dead last place. And then they go into this tourney, and then BDS wins the whole thing. So let's look at realistically, like how many memorable moments, like how many big things happened, okay? There weren't many. Did anything crazy happen? I mean, it's cool we had all the other regions here. Like Mina ended up doing really well at some of the majors, but this wasn't even, like at Worlds, they didn't end up having a crazy run or anything. Other than, I guess you could also add in like Energy beating Semper, like this was pretty unexpected. That whole situation was super weird though. Like 2 players for Semper ended up getting COVID, or like they thought they had COVID or something. And so 2 of them had to play the grand final from their hotel rooms or something. And they had 1 person on stage with their coach. That was a super weird moment. And I think that also plays a massive part in Energy winning. I think it's mid, and I think it's lower than season 2. You already know what this land was all about. This was the Vitality era. 2022, 2023. Back to EU. Asia Pacific got their first ever win at an RLCS World Championship. Oh my god. The Joyo Mex, bro. The Mactuff. No, that goal was actually nasty. Bro, I love seeing the players like yell at each other and banter. Like I remember, I think this is the Austin goal actually right here. They were arguing this, yeah, this was. They were arguing the whole entire series Oski goes absolutely nuts to win the game, and they're just like yelling at each other from across the room. It literally creates these storylines that we're ranking these tournaments on. Zen's trying to finalize the last piece of the puzzle. Obviously, earlier in the video, we saw Pharah coaching as a player. Now he's coaching as a coach. This was like the last time we saw Sypical, I think, actually, after that Moisture Oster beat FaZe. I mean, this was a crazy playoff though. Like, look at these teams. I feel like there wasn't like a lot that like happened aside from Zen completing the story though, you know? I think the Karma Vitality series was way closer than the BDS Vitality series was. Oh yeah. The ego you would have if you were Zen in that moment. But to be fair, like, dude, that Vitality team, they decided like, hey, let's just be the absolute most dominant team in the world for like one split. And then teams just caught up to them, I guess. Yeah, I mean, he completed the story here. Just to give context for people that like somehow don't realize how insane that Zen storyline was, okay? This is the winter split. They don't have Zen, they have Zen, okay? They have Zen. And then they end up obviously picking up this young kid, hasn't played any RLCS tournaments or anything like that because, you know, he got banned. And now we're into the spring split. You know, on a debut, how well do you think you're gonna do? You know, maybe you get a nice top 8, maybe get a nice top 4. Nope, they absolutely dominate and they win. He wins his first ever regional he played. And then we go to the Spring Cup. He wins the second ever regional he ever plays. Okay, pretty good. That's nuts. Young, I think 16-year-old kid at the time. Spring Invitational. They do it again. He has a perfect run in the European RLCS. He wins all 3 regionals. And then to top it off, this is actually a major that I went to and I saw this absolute dominance in person. They win the Spring Major too. He wins all 3 regionals. He wins the major. He's now 4 for 4 in everything he's played. And just to top it off, obviously what we just watched, he wins the World Championships. So that's the Zen effect. But I will say, I think it's really the only thing that, like, the only storyline that was going on, right? To me, that's not Hall of Fame. It's like one moment that happened that does carry, and that's why it's not going to be like too low. I think it's in a similar boat to why I have the squishy ceiling shot in memorable, because if more stuff happened, I think it'd be higher up. I'm going to put it higher than I was initially going to put it, but it's still not Hall of Fame to me. I'll put it's number 2 in memorable. On to the last one, RLCS 2024. Damn. Oh, this was crazy because Oxygen wasn't even supposed to be here. I forgot about that. It was supposed to be a MENA team. I think it was visa issues. They couldn't end up getting there. And then because the main team couldn't get there, they keep going to the next team down, next team down, next team down. But I think in general, it's just really hard to get a visa that quickly. And so instead of having 4 EU teams, they had 5 EU teams. And Oxygen ended up just absolutely rocking some of the French teams. I mean, this is like cementing Monkey Moon as the GOAT, to be fair. So that also happened. Dude, how different the story could have played out if Falcons won there. If MENA was winning the first ever title. I mean, they're good enough to do it, bro. Like, any of those teams really could have won on the day. Unfortunately, it ended up being the team that was most expected to win, which kind of sucks, but I can't say it takes away from it because it actually was insanely close. And just like last time, it ends up being G2 versus BDS. Again, there's a big difference in this one though. Like the last time G2 played BDS, it was like a lot of copium of like, G2 can win this. Like, I believe they got this and it didn't end up being close at all. This matchup, like, genuinely could have been either way. Like, G2 actually had the ability to win this. I mean, it was so close. Also, that Daniel fake, oh my god. Dude, I thought they were gonna pull it back. I thought G2 had it. I thought we'd maybe even go overtime. But this play right here haunts any NA fan. It's gonna haunt us forever. It's gonna haunt Atomic forever. Because that's the second time he lost to BDS in the grand final for a world's title. Alright, so obviously the biggest storyline here is Monkey Moon really cemented himself as the GOAT of Rocket League. He had done it all. He had been dominant. He was on a dynasty team. Now he had 2 world championships and with different teammates. Drawley also wins worlds at his first ever rookie season. I mean, there was the oxygen situation, right? They actually ended up paving the way for BDS in a way because I feel like some of the other French teams might have given them a harder time. Yeah, Oxygen literally beat Vitality, the team that just won Worlds. They beat Vitality, so Vitality didn't even make the playoffs. And then when they get to the playoffs, they take out Gentlemate. So they took out 2 of the biggest French teams. There was just Carmine, BDS left. G2 beats Carmine, really good series, and then BDS gets the job done. Like this in 2021 to 2022 is pretty similar in my opinion though. 2024 had more weight to it because BDS winning meant a lot more. So it's obviously higher than that, but is it top of mid or is it low memorable? I don't want to stack up memorable. I think reasonably I'm putting it here. It would be memorable. It's going in mid. It's going top of mid. The list just looks better that way. That's the list. Let me know what I did wrong. Let me know what you change up on the list. That's been it. Thank you guys for watching and I'll see you in the next video.